No one else is going to say it? Well, I guess that just leaves me. The reason we keep seeing priests and pastors and other high leaders of religious institutions being exposed as PDF files isn't a fluke or a coincidence. And it's not just a few bad men tarnishing a good thing. It's the system doing exactly what it was built to do. Because when you look at the structure of the church, not just spiritually, but institutionally, it becomes clear. This system was never designed for accountability. And let me count the ways. First, it demands celibacy, and they weaponize this notion as a form of control. Repressing your humanity becomes a sort of test of loyalty. But repression doesn't create purity. It creates sickness and secrets, and it actually ends up breeding the very behavior that they claim to condemn. 2, it hands all the power over to the men, wrapping them up in spiritual authority and then telling you that questioning them is a sin. They're undeservingly positioned as divine mouthpieces, essentially becoming untouchable and above reproach. So when harm happens, it's sacralized. You're told to forgive them, to submit, and to stay silent in the name of obedience. And that's just if they choose to believe you. 3, it discourages transparency on every level, and it buries truth under the language of forgiveness, while justice ultimately just gets lost in bureaucracy. You're told that speaking out is divisive, or that harm is bitterness, and that silence is somehow holy. But we know that they have a long, documented, and disgusting history of protecting itself instead of its victims. I mean, we've seen this time and time again, where whistleblowers are silenced, survivors are blamed, and offenders are relocated but never removed. And still, people want to believe that it's all just a misunderstanding or just a few rotten apples. But ask yourself this question. Why would a system that claims moral authority do everything within its power to avoid justice? The answer is because exposing the truth fully would threaten the institution's entire foundation, which was built on power, wealth, and influence. So we're not talking about just a few broken men. Oh, what a shame. This is a global, tax-exempt empire with its own laws, diplomatic immunity, and billions, with a B, of dollars to protect. And I know this next part is going to be damn near impossible for some of y'all to hear, because the moment I say it, the indoctrination will trigger your cognitive dissonance if it hasn't already. And out of self-preservation, you're going to try to remove yourself from the equation, but you shouldn't. Because the truth is, if you still claim these religions, if you still align yourself with these very institutions, then you are the system that has harbored and protected child predators for centuries. There is no, well, my church isn't like that, or my pastor or deacon would never. There is no cherry picking here which parts you support. If you continue to tithe, to attend, to defend, to uplift these institutions in any way, you are actively upholding the structure that allowed it to happen and ensured that it would never fully be punished. You don't get to separate your personal experience from global harm, because systems don't survive on violence alone. They survive on the loyalty of the people who had a good time. Your positive experience didn't exist in spite of the abuse. It existed because the abuse was ignored in order to protect your comfort. Let that sink in. You don't get to hide behind the parts that made you feel safe while ignoring the ones that destroyed millions of lives. I mean, if you want to be considered a good person, that is. If your faith requires you to look away, explain it away, pray it away, then your silence is complicity. Your loyalty is protection, and your worship is participation. You are not on the outside of the system. You are the system.